Hey everybody, say my name is Daryl Bauer here, a local resident. Gosh, I've been in New Prague since 1996, so I've been here a lot of years. And gosh, I'm really excited to introduce everybody to Brian Paulson. Brian is running for city council, and gosh, I just thought it'd be a really good idea to introduce Brian here a little bit and just have him tell us a little bit about why he's running, where he's come from, and really. Just all about his campaign a little bit. So, Brian, thank you very much for joining me here today and telling me a little bit about what y'all got going. So, thank you.
All right. Well, yeah, just briefly about me, kind of where I came from and how I landed in New Prague. Um, I've been in Minnesota my whole life. My family's been here since 1883, fifth generation. I'm not going anywhere. Don't plan to. I know a lot of people are leaving different states for other reasons, but I'm going to make it better. Is kind of what I said. I've got I could go back into before when I was in Shakopee. So it's not far from here. I moved to Shakopee in 1995, and then I left for the Navy. Um, and I went to a couple different states, met my wife, had our first son, and we looked back, coming back to Minnesota. I went back to Shakopee, and it wasn't the same city that I left it. From 1995 and just 20 years later, it was a completely different city. It wasn't what I wanted, but New Prague was. I saw New Prague. It was a nice, small, quaint city, great schools, great community. It was safe, exactly what we wanted. So we moved here in 2016, late 2016, early 2017. And, since then, I just had my fourth son. So now we got four boys in our household. And I put my roots down here. Um, when I was in the Navy, I actually bought a business just outside of town. So I'm a small business owner since 2011. Came here and we've started becoming a part of the community. And then I started getting involved into the New Prague City about the time they were doing a tax abatement for, I don't know if you can almost see it from here, the high density housing complex. And that was the first sign that I was like, you know what, I remember them doing that in Shakopee. And I don't want, our city here to become a little Shakopee. So the tax abatement was kind of the first step that got me involved in the city, and that was in 2014. And ever since then, I've been getting more and more and more involved, diving deeper and going to meetings. That's kind of what brought me to New Prague was the town, the people, and everything that makes up this community.
That was really one of the draws that brought my wife Janet and I to New Prague. Was she had grown up in Shakopee, and we got married kind of in the early 90s, 1993. And New Prague was kind of like what Shakopee was, say, even 30 years prior to us being married. So, yeah, just this great little community that just holds a lot of the same values that we had as a family just forming at that time. So, and here we are some 35 years later in Shakopee, or in New Prague, and what a great community to get involved in.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we came here. And some of the things that I'm kind of running on is like the first thing is keeping our small town feel. And the city did, a survey, and they went out and they asked residents what they like about the city, what things they would like to see in the future. And by far, the number one thing from our community was the small town feel, right? And that's what we want. And some people, for whatever reason, they think the success of our city depends on the sign as you drive in and the population number. But really, I don't view that as a success of getting that number to go up. Yes, it will go up, and growing at a nice pace is something that will happen, and our city we will grow. But using high density housing and tax abatements, which is all these different subsidies that the city is trying to do to attract you know, mass housing and to try to get as many people to get, migrated here from Shakopee or whatever cities around us to get them to live here. That's not actually success as I view it. I view it as becoming a healthy city, financially sound, safe. That's what I see as success, not actually having the number on the sign as you drive into town increase.
So let's talk a little bit about that tax abatement. So Really, what inherently is wrong with that? I know this particular project, it seemed like maybe some of the funding came after the building was already approved and going up. Maybe talk a little bit about what's so bad about tax abatement. Maybe not necessarily so much the project, but maybe how it's been gone about, and maybe just maybe some of the public awareness that led up to that.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I got in more involved was I started seeing that they were doing the tax abatement way late in the game, and it was already decision was made. Like there was a huge showing of people at the meeting, but it was very clear that this decision was already made and this project was going to happen regardless of a tax abatement. The builder even said so themselves in the meetings, and the financial advisor even said that the investors were going to be profitable, that they just wanted this to become more profitable. Okay, so it is a, and I don't blame them for asking. For any developer or business, I don't blame them for asking. It's for the council to give it. But what tax abatements do is they let the city pick and choose winners and losers. I don't get one, you don't get one, all these other businesses don't get one. It's not fair. And it's picking and choosing winners and losers for the city to push, their hand on a scale to get what they want when they're using our money to do that. And I don't think that's right.
And I think part of that, when you talk about picking winners and losers, maybe sometimes it's the taxpayer that becomes the loser on that because they seem to be footing a bill. And maybe talk a little bit about, maybe what's happened with taxes in New Prague, and has the taxes actually matched some of the growth that we've seen in our city over the years?
Well, I just want to expand on the tax abatement because people always say, well, it's not costing us money. We're not giving them money. That's true. But why do we pay property taxes? It's to account for the cost that we put onto the city for, police or fire or whatever, parks, all those different things. So that's why we pay property taxes. And when you have this giant building with hundreds of people in it and they're not paying taxes, who has to cover the increase in burden on the city? The taxpayers do, the actual people that do pay taxes. So yes, we do have to end up paying for those things. When they don't pay taxes, somebody else does. And it's the people that live in our community.
Brian, maybe there was some other instances along the way in the city too, that have really kind of brought you to the forefront, in the politics in town. I mean, just not even a year and a half ago, I didn't know who Brian Paulson was. And all of a sudden, I start seeing Brian Paulson maybe in the letters to the editor. I've seen some Facebook comments out there, and all of a sudden, you're showing up at these city meetings. What drew you to even want to come to these city meetings on a regular basis? It seems like you don't miss hardly any meetings lately, and I, for one, really appreciate you doing that. I feel like there's actually somebody out there watching what's going on out there, and I really appreciate that. And I know there's a whole community out there that does. But maybe speak to some of the other things that have really drawn you to run for this candidacy on the city council.
Yeah. So like I said, the tax abatement was the first reason why I saw that there's decisions that are being made before we even get a public voice on it. And that's what happened there. And I just kept reading. I kept going to the meetings and reading the documents. And I knew that I was just educating myself. And when you start to do that, you start to see patterns and then you see anomalies. And then the police station, that was the next thing that I saw where I knew there was an anomaly. And I saw that. And that was where they decided to go out for bid. They had one company that came and did a facility study and said that we needed a new police station. Well, if you take your truck to the dealership, they're going to probably recommend that you need a new car, right? And the bigger the project, the more money they get, right? So they're going to say that you need a nice big project. So we only had one company that said that. We went out for bids. We did have multiple bids. But the city signed a contract with the company to build the police station before we ever did a public hearing, before they even had money secured to pay for this thing. And then I pointed it out, and they went, "Oh, well, sorry, we forgot to do that." So I went and did a petition, and I went and I walked all of these streets, and a lot of other people did too with me, and they helped out. It was great. It was a good way to meet the community. I really love door knocking. I handed in the petition. I had 30 days to collect. I think it was like 244 signatures. I had 30 days, and I handed in like 550 in like 6 days. Okay, overwhelming. If I got people to answer the door, 4 to 5 people signed it. And the 1 out of 5 that didn't usually was because they knew someone on the city, or they were concerned that someone would see their name on that list. So they kind of withheld it. But overwhelmingly, people supported it. I handed in my petition, and then the city decided to use a loophole in the government, and they let the EDA, the Economic Development Authority, which is appointed by them, build a police station. So the EDA, which I don't know why the EDA is building a police station, then they rented it to the city. And you can't do a petition against the EDA. So that was their loophole that they were able to get around, letting us vote on it. And that's all I wanted, because I thought it was a way too much money for 8,000 people person town to be building like, well, it was $10 million in bonds. It's about a $12 million station if you take the land into account and the savings that we spent on it. Way too big. I just wanted us to vote on it. And the city, if they want to do something, they need to sell it to us. And they did not do that. They ignored us. They closed the door on us. They were not transparent.
And Brian, you took a lot of flack for that. I think there's a number of people out there that just said that you were anti-police or you're anti-community or you're being mean-spirited and that you're bucking the system. And I think you took a lot of flack for that. And maybe there wasn't a lot of people that came to your rescue, but at the end of the day, you had all those signatures, and there's some quiet support out there. And sometimes people don't necessarily speak up, but you ended up taking a lot of flack for that. And, basically all you were asking for is, if they did this end around, you're just asking for accountability is really all you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. There's a few people, and most of them were very connected to the police department, and it's nothing against the police department. In fact, it's funny, every time that the teachers ask one of my kids what he wants to be when he grows up, it's a police officer, right? It's nothing against the police department. It's with the spending. It's with the government spending, which our city has just continually increased year after year after year. They're just a ratchet up, and we are feeling a lot of pressure, and they don't seem to be listening to us. On top of the fact that our community is very safe, right? And we have a great police force. We're a very safe community. So, yes, it would be nice to have a brand new police station. It would be nice to have the state of the art one, but we just can't afford it right now with the amount of pressures that we have. And I can tell you all day about daycare costs. Wow, like with 4 kids, I'm definitely feeling the pressures on that. And then when my taxes go up, my insurance goes up, all of these things are going up. We're feeling the pressure. It's just not the right time to be building a brand new police station.
Well, New Prague is just a great town of tradition, and we really do support our police. We really do support our fire. In the most part, we really do support our police station. For crying out loud, we support a golf course with our city tax dollars as well. And there's just a lot of pride and a lot of tradition in our town. And it was really kind of shocking to me how this end around happened, and the voice of the people was actually quieted. And and this is kind of a thing that's been happening not only in New Prague but a number of other cities. That when the people speak, and they're trying to build these fire stations or these police stations, they're doing this end around on this law. This back door to have an EDA actually fund it and then rent it back to the city.
Yeah, that has happened actually in multiple cities. They're doing that. They found the loophole, and it's funny because you'll see our city consultant Ellers, and you'll see Wold, and they're always the same few companies, always in all these different government things. Whether it be Owatonna, I know that's been making the news a lot for their police station, or even I know the New Prague Schools, the builder for that. They ended up not asking for the funds to do that this year. But that was the same builder. It was Wold Construction that went and looked at all the different schools to assess them. But yeah, that's how they make money. And it's up for our city council to say, we know that you're making, the more money that we spend, the more you make. And it's up for them to decide, do we need a brand new Cadillac, or can we get by with a Chevy, right? What do we actually need? Or maybe we can wait. Maybe we can wait a few years.
So, down to brass tacks, why does it really matter? Why does it really matter? Hey, if we build this police station now, or if we build this building now, or do this project now, it's only going to get more expensive later, right? So why does it even matter that we as the taxpayers really need to be watching this bottom line?
Well, the argument of things are always going to get more expensive. Yeah, you can talk about that, and I will sit here and talk about hours about the Federal Reserve, right? But that does cause inflation across the board, right? So not only are the construction costs going to go up, but so will my the pay I get, right? My salary will get up, the property taxes go up, right? But those should all go up about at the same rate. It's when you start going and taking one aspect of it and increasing that faster than the others, right? So if everything goes up at 3%, okay, then we don't have big problems. But when you start increasing one thing more than the others, that's when you have problems. I have a few statistics that are pretty shocking. I've kind of posted it on Facebook a few times, but our city, according to the official documents, has grown by 11 people since 2019. 11 people. Now, how is that possible? We've seen some houses built, right? Well, guess what? People's kids are moving out and they're not moving back to New Prague, right? Or we get a new, a thing, new development. It's getting offset by kids are moving out, graduating, moving away. You also have people that are passing away, right? So you have people leaving the city, and the increase is not meeting pace, right? So 11 people since 2019. How much has our city budget grown since 2024? It has grown 31%. The tax levy is 31%, and that's offset by $1 million grant that we should be getting. We'll see if we actually get it. But the city documents just came out last week that said that we should be getting $1 million from the feds. Okay. Otherwise, our increase from 2024 would be, I think it was 37%.
Wow.
In budget. Mind you, the population since 2019 has only been 11 people.
Well, that doesn't sound mean-spirited at all to have a citizen stepping up and watching those kind of numbers. I know, Brian, I personally really appreciate somebody looking and doing that research and sharing that. And I know many others in the community do as well. Um, so you're running for city council now, and you're hopeful to be sitting on that city council here, hopefully at the beginning of the year. Um, how can you realistically be a force to help that out? If you're behind that table and you're on that council, tell us how you would initiate and really help the situation and be a boost to the community of New Prague.
Well, I think when I'm in the audience, I can't speak to when one of the council members will say something that, maybe it's true, but there's a counterpoint to it that doesn't get said. And if I'm up there, I'll be able to actually say those things. I'll be able to actually ask, the consultants things when they say stuff, right? I'll be able to ask the questions to get the other board members actually thinking. Now, just last week, I am currently on the park board. Um, and I was happy enough that they just elected me the vice chair of the park board, so I'm pretty excited about that. And you say, oh, it's just the park board. Yeah, but we still spend money there, right? And because of the increase in taxes for the police station and for other things, right, just the total government increase, the park board had to reduce our budget a lot. And I had to make the argument that we couldn't spend as much money as we wanted. We wanted to make a ninja course. We wanted to do a few other things, a bocce ball course and a cornhole. And we just can't afford it. Our city cannot afford it. We only have so much money. So we reduced, I think it was around $280,000 we were going to spend in 2027. And we reduced that to, I think it was $45,000. We just had to tighten our belt.
And this is one of those parks that we're sitting in right now. This is the gateway, one of the gateways to the city of New Prague. We're surrounded by a beautiful greenway that links the entire part of our city. And this is really what's one of the quality parts of life in our community is to have these beautiful parks, these beautiful greenways, and to be welcoming as people enter our city. So, again, I think when we start talking about overspending on some of our budgets and not watching that, that really affects the everyday things. That affects a large portion of the people in our community. So again, I appreciate someone that's mindful enough to be watching the bottom line here a little bit. So, gosh, what are some other things, Brian, that you really kind of foresee you making an impact on the city council once you're hopefully elected here this coming November?
Yeah. Besides, trying to stop these subsidies and just let our housing grow naturally, and looking at the budget a lot closer and questioning some of the spending. The other thing is transparency, and Anytime I want something from the city, because I started asking questions, the answers started dwindling away. And then it became anything that I wanted to know, I couldn't just ask. Other residents, sometimes the city, they'll answer their questions. But for me, anything that has to happen has to be a data request. And then in the data request, they try not to answer it if they can get away with it. So I want there to be more transparency. I want there to be public hearings that actually mean something, not doing a public hearing after you've broken ground on projects. That's just, it's taking the voice away from the people. And I want to have more public hearings, not when they're just required, but like, oh, someone shows up to the meeting and they want to talk about an item on the agenda. Why not? We can give them a couple of minutes. There's no reason not to. If they have a question, if we know the answers, we can give it to them. And if we don't, we can get back to them with answers and not just shutting people out, shutting their voices down, not answering their questions.
Well, why is transparency so important? Are we just not trusting our leaders that have maybe been in a position for so many years and so many generations? Is that just being disrespectful to the current leadership? Why is it such a big deal? I mean, why are you making such a big deal out of this?
Well, I'm a very patriotic guy, and I believe as part of our tradition and our duty actually is to question our government. We've done that uh, for generations of always questioning them. The people are supposed to be more powerful than the government, right? They're supposed to work for us, and I want to bring that back, right? And that's just, I'm very passionate about it. Some people think I'm a jerk, but no, trust me, it is just a passion. We had our most recent son, and it was just so special that he was born on July 8th. I got to talk about this because I'm very proud of it. He was born on July 8th. That's the first day they read the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia. So it was passed by Congress on the 4th, but they didn't actually read it until the 8th. And we named him Mason after George Mason, who refused to sign the Constitution because it didn't give us enough freedom, right? And like for me, it's just I'm a very patriotic guy. I love my city, I love my state, I love my country, and I spend a lot of time working on it, making it better, and I want my kids to be proud of what I do and what kind of city I leave for them in the future.
And I think that's pretty phenomenal. We're 250 years old as a country this year, and New Prague is vastly a community of immigrants. It was founded, by Czech and German immigrants, and they were here to realize the American dream. And it is so cool, 250 some years later, that we are still moving forward on that. And what's really cool part about your story, Brian, is you actually suited up in the military and you served our country, and you did a number of years in service to our country. Maybe tell us a little bit about your civil service to our country.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I signed up in 2008, which most people think, well, that was right when the big bubble happened, right? But I knew I was signing up before any of that crash happened. But it was a big change after that. But yeah, I deployed on the George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier, served on that as an IT, and I did deployment there for Operation New Dawn and Iraqi Freedom. So that was great. It's great to be a part of that and help support our country. After that, left Norfolk, Virginia. Then I went to Hawaii and I did satellite communications there. Um, and there it was. So I did a full 8 years, which I think was just a breeze. Like a lot of people think that was a long time, but for me, like it went so fast and I enjoyed it so much. It was really great to kind of give back to my country, but I wanted to come back, to Minnesota and start my family and give them the kind of future that I wanted to see. And then, I do want to just touch on like professionally, like data analytics and handling data and IT. Like that's my bread and butter. That's what I do professionally. So a lot of these like finance stuff, although I wasn't into finance, I'm into data, right? And analyzing data, data classification and handling. It's very important to me and where I work. And I continue to kind of serve my country by working for General Dynamics. And I love still being able to support, our war fighters, even though I'm not wearing the uniform anymore. I'm still able to support them.
Great story. And thank you very much for your service and what you've done for our country, both on a military level and as a small business owner. as well as the service that you've provided our community already. So I know New Prague is very glad to have you here and to be a part of our community, and we really do wish you the best. And I know that there's an entire community out there that's looking to support you. Really, just in closing, is there anything else that you'd really like to share? And just what New Prague doesn't know about you, and something that you can get to be known a little bit better throughout the community.
I do want to talk very briefly just about how a lot of people have become very divisive, and you gotta step back and just realize that we all want it to be a better place, right? We just have different ways of getting there, and you will not get anywhere arguing some other side thinking that they want it to be worse, right? You have to put yourself in their shoes, and you have to understand that they want New Prague to be better. They want America to be better. They want Minnesota to be better. So you just have to understand that everyone wants it to be better, and start to talk to them and listen, and they're not trying to tear you down intentionally if they are, right? So try to meet them, talk to them, start making conversations, and you'll find that you have a lot more in common with people. Don't focus on the 20% that you disagree with someone, focus on the 80% that you do agree, and then you can work on those things. And that's what I'm very optimistic guy, and I think a lot of people just focus on the bad stuff, where I really try to focus on the good things with people, and we all want New Prague to be better.
Yeah, I think there's a saying out there said by maybe a theologian or something like that said, I disagree with that person, so I need to get to know them better. And I think that's an art that we've lost a little bit, and not only in small town politics, but whether it's social media or state government or national politics. I feel like it's become more important to be right than to hear the other side. And one thing that's been very impressive about getting to know you, Brian, is that you are willing to debate and not get all bent out of shape about it, and be willing to hear the other side. And maybe just speak to that a little bit. What allows you to like hold your stuff together, in a heated debate?
four, Four boys. Yeah, I've always been willing to change my own opinion. And if you're willing to change your own opinion, you're willing to hear other arguments. And there's things, even today, there's things that like I don't have a set opinion on something. I may lean some way on something, but um, I'm always willing just to know that, hey, I don't know everything. I'm not 17.
Right, right.
As I once thought I knew everything, but yeah, it could have been in the Navy, where I met a lot of different people. You think here, maybe you travel around, people in Minneapolis are way different than me. No, no, when you join the military, then you start to really meet people literally from other countries that are in our military. A lot of people don't know that. There's people that are not U.S. citizens that are trying to get citizenship, and they'll join the military. And then just traveling different countries, you see all sorts of stuff like that, and you start to just open your eyes a little bit and know that like you don't know everything. And I think it probably was the military, of being able to go around, and just see and meet so many different people and realize that we're not really different. We are very similar.
Well, and that kind of speaks a little bit to the importance of why the military works so well, is because we have so many people from so many backgrounds and genders and religions and sexes and, all sorts of different things, but everybody comes together, and it's a system that fully depends upon each other for the defense of our country. And it's a magic recipe. Wouldn't that just be awesome if we applied that to local politics or state politics? I know we're nonpartisan at the city level, but wouldn't that be great if we just all were pulling the rope in the same direction, and it was just all about, exploring new ideas and different thoughts, and maybe understanding people that don't think like us?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm very happy that these are nonpartisan, because otherwise people tend to vote against someone, usually more often than not, or they only vote for someone because of the letter next to their name. And it's like that's one thing for me. I do not care about the R's and the D's. Sorry, I've already been asked. The very first day I said that I'm running for office is, are you Republican or Democrat? I said neither. I don't play with those partisan stuff. I will vote, with someone, or what, if your idea is good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. And I don't care the partisan stuff. Keep it out, because you're not going to get me to make an opinion based on that.
That's one of the cool parts about New Prague too. When you look back at the history of this community, we've played both sides of the fence politically for many, many different years, based on our representation both at the state and within the Senate. So, New Prague is a town that is very diverse that way as well too. And I believe that we're a community that's very engaged and just wants to get to know each other a little bit better. So. Anyway, I really appreciate the opportunity to take time and chat with you here a little bit, and really do wish you the best. And Brian, if people want to get involved in your campaign or donate or maybe request a sign or some literature, what's the best way for someone to reach out and be able to do that?
Sure. So I got a website. It's Brian Paulson for newprague.com, spelt out, all, not the number four, FOR. And yeah, you can send me a message on there. I'm, getting signs on order and getting some flyers. If you see me door knocking, I'm not there to sell you a new roof. I promise. That's the hardest part about door knocking, is a lot of people think you're there to sell you something. So if you see me walking around, I'm very easy to spot. I'm 6'5" and pretty skinny, so a lot of people just kind of remember that about me. But yeah, I'll be door knocking all over New Prague throughout the summer. So answer the door, talk. Let's talk. I talk about anything you want.
And what's the most practical way that somebody can get involved, whether it's helping you or getting to the polls coming this November?
Yeah, there's all different ways. Like I said, send me a message, and you can just, whether it's liking my posts on Facebook or commenting on them, even if you disagree, right? Just talking it out, and people can kind of see, uh, you know, uh, my stances on things, right? Or you can help out by helping me door knock, or you can have a sign, or you can donate. I know the signs aren't very cheap, but yeah, I'm willing to get into office, and I'm putting, even if no one gives me any money, I'm gonna fund this whole thing myself, just because I want to be up there. I want to have a voice, and I want to make our community better.
Before we wrap it up, give us that website one more time, and maybe tell us what your social media presence here as well too, as so people can learn more about you.
Yep. So the website is Brian Paulson for newprague.com. And also I have a web page, or on Facebook, Brian Paulson for New Prague. And yeah, you can join those, follow me on there, send me messages. I've got my phone number, email, or on Facebook, any way you want to send me a message to talk about something or ask my stance on something. Yeah, I'm a pretty friendly guy. I don't get into arguments, and I'm pretty easy to talk to.
Well, I appreciate your time today, Brian. Have a really good rest of the day today, and we look forward to seeing you out there on the campaign trail.
All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
Daryl.
Yep, you're welcome.